Yes, we are live again. Welcome, everyone. I hope that you're having an amazing afternoon or morning, depending on where you are, or night. Uh, Today, we are going to be having another session of the Build Hour. We have been doing workshops for a couple of weeks now, and we have seen how people are starting to getting more and more interested about building on Metis. So Metis is a layer 2 blockchain solution. It is super fast and cheap and easy to integrate because it's EVM compatible. And I am Víctor Muñoz, a developer advocate at Metis. Today, I have the pleasure to have this workshop alongside Jos from Envio. For those who are wondering, Envio is a data indexer, but Jos is going to tell us all about Envio. So, how are you doing today, Jos?
I'm doing great, Victor. Yeah, it's a good Friday. I hope you're having a good Friday as well.
For sure.
I'm a developer at Envio. We have an indexer and we're kind of a whole data solution for blockchain applications. We support Metis. Compared to other indexers, we're about 104 times faster than the graph. We have our own hosting, so you can host our indexers with us, and it's super, super easy to set one up. I'll be going through that today. It's just a 3 command in it. Um, yeah, should I go ahead and share my screen?
Yes, let's do that. And I see that some people are already connecting. Welcome once again. And during this workshop, if you have any questions, please feel free to ask on the chat. Say hi if you want. And we will reply to all of your questions.
Yeah,
So
please.
let's see, Jos. Can you share your screen, please?
Sure thing. Yeah. And, feel free, Victor, feel free to interrupt me with any questions. I'm like to keep it casual. So
For sure.
what I want to go over today is just really, really briefly what is indexing. Then I'll talk about NVO, the team's background, and then we'll dive into some examples using our indexer, and then also a brief example of another API we have. Um, so basically, indexing, just getting data from the blockchain off the chain. So as you know, blockchains are really mainly focused on the correctness of data, but it's not so easy to get all the data that's on chain off chain. You can't exactly do just a SQL select all type of thing. So what indexing is the process of scanning over the blockchains for certain events, pulling those events off, putting it into a off-chain database, and then giving you an endpoint for that database. Lots and lots of people use an indexer in this industry. I'm sure if you watching this video or if you're in the chat, you've maybe uh, built an indexer yourself or use one at your company. But if you're in the blockchain space, you've definitely interacted with one. Any DeFi protocol with a front end or smart contract suite, on-chain analysts, wallets, block explorers, etc., all have some sort of indexer setup. So that brings us to what is NVO. Um, so the origin of Envio, the team working on Envio was previously working on this other DeFi project that had, complex smart contract setup, and we had to index a lot of data to display it on our front end to show our users. And we were using the graph as an indexer. But the problem was, we were some power users, you could say. We had a lot of data we wanted indexing, and anytime we wanted to update our indexer, deploy our indexer, it took 2 weeks of downtime to sync the data from the chain before we could start getting the data to our front end. And then additionally, after that 2 weeks was spent, there was a 5-minute latency at the tip of the chain. So when a user went to our front end, made some interaction with our smart contract, take another 5 minutes to show up on our front end, which is, horrible user experience, also horrible developer experience having to wait like a 2 week downtime every time we want to make changes. Um, what we did is we made our own in-house indexing solution, which, we had a lot of fun with, spent a lot of time optimizing it, and it kind of grew into what is Envio. Yeah, so you can see we're pretty fast. And Our main product is the HyperIndex, which is our indexer I'll be showing you today. HyperSync is the backend for the indexer that's you know, cutting edge optimized for speed, and HyperRPC is another way to get data that conforms to the JSON RPC standard. So just like a little diagram, HyperIndex, HyperRPC both stand on top of HyperSync, and HyperIndex I'll be showing you today, and also should be showing you a little bit of HyperSync. So let's index something. So let's first go to the Metis block explorer. So today I think we'll go for the USDT token. USDT token is just a stable coin, ERC20 contract. A lot of chains have it. We can look at the code here briefly. Let's see, ERC20. And what we'll be looking for is the events that are emitted from this contract. So we'll be looking at, we'll be collecting all the data on all the mints, all the burns, all the approves, etc. So if we go over to our terminal, so I just have a file here. The only thing in it is the ABI. You can get the ABI. You can get the ABI from the block explorer. It's just right here. You just copy it in, and I have it there. And all we're going to do is Envio init. So first, name our indexer. Let's say USDT. Specify folder. Find making in this folder. Which language do we want to make our indexer in? I like TypeScript. We support JavaScript, TypeScript, and Rescript. We'll go TypeScript. And to create our indexer, we're just going to use the contract import feature, which is the easiest way to get started. You can also start with a template and make your indexer by hand if you want some more advanced settings. But we'll just do contract import for today. Don't have to write any code with this. And where are we getting the ABI from? We have it local folder. So we'll just specify the ABI that we have here, and then we can select what events we want to index. So, we can deselect, select whatever you want. We're just going to index all these events today. And then what network do we want? We support a lot of networks, but of course, got to go with Metis. And the name of the contract, call it USDT, and the address, go back to the block explorer. It's right at the top here. Copy that over. And then for today, we're done, but you can do a whole bunch of other stuff, add some other contracts to this indexer, etc. And right now it's generating a whole bunch of code for us to host the indexer, and then we'll get it started. All
So
right,
what's happening in the background?
great question. We can dive right into that actually. So yeah, I'll show you what it generated here essentially. So it generated all of these. So you can take a look at the schema. So we have all these events in our schema that you can query for. You can also look at the config. So you see we've got the Metis, we want the Metis network from block 0 up to the head. We're indexing this address and all of these events here. And then what happens to the events is each time one of these events are emitted on chain at that address, it calls one of our handler functions, which these were pre-generated, but of course you can write your own too. And it basically calls this function with the event data. This function has some logic for how we want to sort the data from the event into this schema here. So we'll see that in action. We can do a envio dev to start the indexer. And I have Docker desktop running right now as a note. So this is going to spin up a local Docker container and start pulling data from the chain into Docker so we can play with it. There we go, it's working. So also this is just running locally, but we also have a hosted service, so we can host your indexers as well. And it's going to pull up the historic console, so we can watch these events as they come in. And this is, play around with a little bit of debugging. You can go to the data tab. We can see all of our tables where the events are going to come into. Get the raw events table. Give it a second to start up. And there we go, start getting some events. So this is going to continue syncing in the background. What's happening under the hood is this code that we just generated is making a lot of calls to our HyperSync backend to get the data in a special format and then sorting it. Um, and then we can make a whole bunch of queries. So for example, here, we just want to see how many events we have so far. So far we have 20,000 events already indexed. We can check out some other cool queries if we want to. So let's see, maybe check out transfers. Let's take 10 transfers and see value from 2. So you can see here, just made a little query to check out the top 10 transfers so far from and to. So this is the largest transfer of USDT so far that we've seen from 0 address to this address. And if we can go back to the data tab, we can see how it's syncing. So we are already up to block number 800,000 almost. And see how many blocks there are currently. So it looks like there are currently 13 million blocks.
So is this because there is a sort of lag or something?
Yeah, well, right now it's making a ton of queries to get data from our backend here and running all the data through our indexer um, to sort the data. And we're at about a million blocks queried already, and million blocks queried already in when did I start this? Like 2 minutes ago, 3 minutes ago, something like that. Uh, this would take normally like the amount of blocks we've created so far would normally take like 6, 7 hours using a different indexer, but this is because of our backend that we can do this so fast. Um, and then yeah, so and then if you want to host an indexer, we also have a hosted service. So it's just all through GitHub. Um, So you can just add a new indexer, link your GitHub up, and then this is one I've hosted previously, and then you get a query endpoint to plug into your front end or whatever to make GraphQL queries to the data. And that's it for the hyperindex. It's that easy, just one command, and then you can host it, play with it. I'm gonna go ahead and stop that now.
So I'm curious here, what are like, because there are many queries that one can do, I can imagine, right?
Mhm.
I don't know if you guys have any sort of data about what are like the most common operations that you have seen among developers using your product.
Um, well, the queries themselves are kind of specific to who's using it. The most common reason to use an indexer that we've seen so far is spinning up some sort of interactive front end for people to look at your data. You can also like use this database for data analytics or running other applications, but mostly people like to use it for starting a front end, and they don't want to have to worry about large sync times or latency at the head. So for this example here in ERC20 contract, people would you could use this, for example, if you wanted to make a block explorer, you could use this and query for all the transfers and then display that on the front end of your block explorer, something like that. Um,
Got it.
yeah, and we also have our product. Our other product is HyperSync. Um, so HyperSync, like I mentioned, is the backend for our indexer that allows our indexer to be super, super fast. We have uh, Node, JavaScript, Python, and Rust clients to interact uh, with HyperSync, and I'll show you an example of the speed and something that we've built with HyperSync.
So I'm sorry, maybe I just missed this part, but how is Envio connected with HyperSync, so it's one of your products.
Yeah,
Is that
yeah,
correct? Okay.
yeah. No, thank you. I should have clarified this more. Yeah, so yeah, it's one of our three products, and it's the hyper optimized data lake that HyperIndex and HyperRPC stand on top of. So the indexer that I just spun up with Envio and init was making a bunch of calls to HyperSync to get data from it.
Got it. Very interesting.
But if you uh, so the indexer is a very stands on top of HyperSync, but we also allow users to query directly into HyperSync if they want that for, if you're doing some sort of on-chain data analysis, or if you're a data scientist and you want to work with arrow format data or Parquet files, you can just use HyperSync directly instead of going through HyperIndex. Um, so we had one of our developers did like a demo project using HyperSync as the backend. So it's called chain density, just shows the event and transaction density over time. And this is just front end, and it uses HyperSync in the background. Um, so we'll grab a contract address from the block explorer. Sure, let's use USDT token again. Pop in that address, we'll look at events and go Metis. And so this also is making a hypersync query in the background. And you can see seemed, maybe there's a little bit of loading, but if you look, it actually did a real-time query from block 0 to block 13 million. So it queried all 13 million blocks in that loading screen. This wasn't, pre-rendered or anything like that. 13 million blocks and 2.5 million transactions or events queried in that short amount of time. So that kind of shows some of the speed that we can really get if you want to go low
Yeah,
level, if you want to use MVO.
yeah. I have to say the speed is quite impressive. Can you share a little bit about how do you guys manage
Yeah,
to get to that point of speed?
yeah,
What's
sure.
this?
So there's tons of optimizations that go into that. It's not just one magic solution. But like we have, I guess I can talk about the data format a little bit. So here, let me write this out actually. So internally, we're storing data in traditionally, like, data is stored in like databases in row format, but we're storing data in column format. So I'll lay that out here. So for example, if you have some sort of struct with 3 fields, say A, B, C, and say in your database you have uh, 3 instances of this struct in row oriented, it would be if you pulled the struct into memory, it would be something like you have A, B, C for the first one, then A, B, C for the second one, and then so you have all the data here. And if you just wanted, you know, both these structs, that's fine. But say, okay, we loaded this into memory, but we only care about the A field for this structure. So what it would do is it would first read the A, and then it would do a memory jump to the next location of the A, read that second A. So that would be 2 reads and two memory jumps. But what we use is column oriented. And so column oriented, instead of being laid out like that in memory, if we have instances, it would be like this. It would be like it lays each I guess it would be a row next to each other in memory. So we still have the 2 structs in memory here, but instead of laying it out by struct, we lay it out by field. So same situation, say we wanted just the A fields, it would just start here, read there, no jumps. So it would just be 1 read and 0 jumps. I probably butchered that explanation, but basically, if you don't want all of the data in every single block, it's very, very fast to use a column-oriented data layout rather than a row-oriented. And when you're an indexer, you just care about events, logs coming out of smart contracts, which makes column-oriented really, really beneficial to use because instead of having to load in every single block, you can just load in the logs field, just the events. Um,
Got it. I see. Yeah, like this
and
is
this
an
isn't,
optimization basically.
yeah, yeah, and this isn't, this isn't anything crazy, I'm sure some people are watching this and be like, hey, I know about column format. But this is just how we format it, and we also have, a ton of other optimizations that we've done. We're like changing the page sizes of memory, we're overriding the in and out operations at the kernel level, is a bunch of stuff. But, we did that so you guys don't have to if you want to make an indexer. A lot of the time I've heard of so many people, for each project they have or something like that, they're building an indexer. It's like people are trying to reinvent the wheel so many times over and over and over again, and it's like, just use us, like you're not going to make a faster indexer. It's super, super easy to use, and we host it for you.
Yeah, no, I can see it's clearly a tool that our developers, our Metis, are going to enjoy. And I think that we will see some people using it very soon, especially because we will have a data related bounty at December. I cannot reveal all of the details at this
Ooh.
moment, but I'm pretty sure that this particular workshop is going to be very useful for them. So, what else are you going to show us next?
That was it that I had planned. Yeah, if anybody has any questions or anything like that, I'd be happy to
Let's
go
see
over it.
if the people in our audience have any questions. I'm just checking out here. Powerful stuff, very strong, very positive comments and feedback, as you can see. But
Fantastic.
I don't see any questions. Now, before we finish, I do have a couple more of questions, if you don't mind.
Yeah,
So
sure.
my first question here is about, okay, let's assume that I want to use this for building a dashboard that shows certain data. I would go and use this as my data indexer, and then to connect this with the front end, how does that work exactly?
So you would, so let's see here. Uh, so once you go through, create the indexer, host it with us through GitHub, what we give you is this query endpoint, this GraphQL query endpoint. And then with that, you can plug that into your GraphQL library of choice. I'm not sure what front-end framework you're using, but you can just look up GraphQL library for X framework or X language, and it'll be super easy. It'll give you some client structure. You just paste this link into the client structure, and then you can make queries. Very similar to like the queries you see here.
Hey, got it.
So
Super
all
clear
you
and
need,
super straightforward.
yeah, this is all you need.
Yes, I see. And yeah, and another thing about the, the interface, because at some point you were using your terminal to run Envio, but at some point we got another interface that you were hosting on your local host. Is that
Mm,
correct?
yeah.
So how does that work in the sense of uh, users will run this and they will be prompted to this interface in which they can start doing the queries with this nice interface. Is that like the idea, the way you guys expect developers to use it?
I think the best way to use it is to use this interface as kind of like debugging. So you create your indexer using the nvo init command, and then you run it locally with nvo dev, and then that starts pulling in the data, and then that's going to bring up this page. And then what you can do is say you're not sure I forgot I stopped the indexer, but you can go to the data tab and look at your data and just make sure that it's being formatted correctly or as you would want. And you can like maybe use Explorer is like super easy to use to construct some queries and then copy paste these queries into your code. More in the developing, debugging life cycle will you use this console rather than in production.
Got it. Super clear as well. And then I was wondering about, people that, okay, they have decided that they want to give it a try, but they don't really know where to start. I can imagine that they would go over the documentation. So I was wondering if there is like concrete examples or projects that you have built or you have showcased using Envio.
For sure, for sure. Well, besides going our website, nvo.dev, definitely jump in, check out our Discord. We're super responsive in Discord. We'll walk you through, jump on a call with you, whatever. But if you want more of this content, there's also a YouTube channel where we have basically what I walked through. Basically what I walked through, just I guess in more details. Um, So you can go to this YouTube channel. We have a bunch more tutorials indexing things that you can look through. I'm sure these will work as well. If you want like a walkthrough example, um, yeah, but also hop
Great.
by our Discord, any questions you have.
Yeah, no, this is great because I can imagine like people sometimes they don't have like concrete ideas on exactly what should be like their first project to get started and get familiarized with the commands, the interface,
Hmm.
how to integrate this and all that. So this videos that you are showing here seem very useful and very like concrete applications. And I'm happy
Yeah,
that we have this opportunity to connect here and show to our Metis developer how they can use this to have powerful data about the Metis blockchain and build their own amazing applications.
yeah. And I also would like to say if anybody's going to be at ETH Denver using Envio, I'll be at ETH Denver too. You can hit me up. I'm in the Envio Discord. I'll come find you guys. I'm doing the hackathon too, so I'll come find you guys, help you out if you have any issues.
For sure. For sure. I like this idea. I will be at Denver, so I guess that we will meet there.
Oh,
Uh,
awesome.
yeah, yeah, that's awesome. So thank you very much, Josh. It has been an amazing demonstration, super straightforward and simple, easy to follow, quick. I like all of that because that way we can speed up the process for getting started for our developers.
Exactly.
So I think that in the future we might organize another of these workshops to maybe show something more concrete about what to do with this, kind of like the ones that I'm seeing, because you have an indexing for optimism bridge, which is great. Maybe something you know concrete that we can see from the demand of our developers. That would be like the ideal case from my point of view, and I think that we are going to figure this out together probably during September. So looking forward to that. Oh, I see someone that is adding a comment now. Help me. Well, we are here to help. You just
We
have
are here to
to
help.
ask. You
Yeah. What do you
yes.
need help with?
Yeah, please paste there whatever it is that you need
Yeah,
help
sure.
with, and we will be there. And uh, like you guys mentioned, you are also active on Discord. We are also active not only on Discord but also on Telegram. There are multiple channels to connect with Metis developer. I personally reply to absolutely anything, everything related to Dev's question, of course. And yeah, I think that this is a good moment to stop. And thank you very much once again. I hope that we do other amazing workshop in the future. If you are watching this, please make sure to subscribe, follow our Metis L2 channel, and stay up to date because we will have a lot of very good news that we will be sharing. Some of them on September, some of them later, but I'm 100% convinced that these are going to be very exciting news. So thank you once again, and I'm going to end the stream now. Have a nice weekend, everyone. Bye bye.